And we are live. Lauren, it's been a whole 2 weeks since I saw you last. How have you been?
It's been mixed. My big vacation plan was Bonnaroo, which got canceled. But I rallied and went to the beach, so it mostly turned out okay. Thought about going to Dragon Con very briefly, because it's the same weekend as Dragon Con. And it got canceled on Wednesday night. Tuesday night. I'm like, my bag was already packed. I already had a suitcase packed, and I was like, what am I going to do with my weekend? I already have like Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday off. But I didn't. It's very tempting, though.
I will say, with 47,000 people at Dragon Con, the beach was probably more relaxing.
It was very relaxing.
Which is not to say that I did not have a tremendous time, because I absolutely did.
Yeah, I've always wanted to go. Never made it down to Dragon Con.
I suspect that Goblins and Growlers will be going again next year. So perhaps if you are interested, we can make it a carpool situation.
Yeah.
Hi, Tree.
Hello.
I was just wondering how many people were at the Dragon Con that I went to way back in 2013.
I remember that.
I was looking at like the numbers for this year and like what the numbers are normally, and I have no idea what the numbers were in 2013. It was my first con, and it was huge and insane and like delightful. But who knows how many people were actually there?
I had initially heard that we were doing like 50% capacity this year, but I can't see how 47,000 people is 50% capacity. I feel like that would be in violation of some sort of fire code somewhere.
I just remember it being packed. Just like no elbow room at all, packed.
Yeah.
Like, wear your smallest cosplay, or just stand in that main like hall where you're not actually going anywhere, and you just stand there and people take pictures of you.
Yeah. There are a couple of very good cosplay spots for Dragon Con photos.
I did see some of the cosplay.
Yeah, I have been admiring the cosplay pictures as well. I really like the person who dressed up as the ship that got stuck and just would like get stuck places. That's my favorite thing. It makes me happy.
Yeah. I know the Delta variant Loki was very popular on Twitter, I think. So.
You're talking about the person who dressed up as a Delta stewardess and then had on Loki horns?
Yep.
Choice cosplay.
Here, Lauren, I just sent you the evergreen ship cosplay picture. It's just so good. It's so good.
It's so good. I did see that cosplay the day he was running around in it. I didn't see him blocking anything, because the point I saw him, he was trying desperately to navigate the con floor without having Three Stooges moments at every turn, which was a feat. It was a feat to accomplish.
That's fantastic. I'm looking at the picture Cheryn sent me.
It's too good. It's too good.
Oh, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. Yeah. All right. Let's get into it. Let's get into it. So I've already confessed in chat, but I'll confess here as well. Between 2 conventions and all of the prep therein, I have gotten 100 pages into this book when I was supposed to get 400. So I've done a quarter of the reading I was going to do.
We forgive you, and boy, are you in for a treat. So good.
I appreciate your forgiveness.
Yeah, I guess let's start with, like, did everyone enjoy it? I don't know. Cheryn enjoyed it.
Cheryn did enjoy it. I also enjoyed, like, participating a little bit more in Discord chat early on, but then I had to bow out because it was just making me want to read more and, like, read ahead, so I had to stop.
In the 100 pages that I've read, I've very much enjoyed it. I also, it's weird to be like, oh yeah, I've been having a really good time with this, because I am for sure still in the part of the book where it's like, all right, let's establish some characters, let's set up a couple of narrative threads. If this was a D&D game, we'd still be in the starting town. Like, the campaign has not really gotten rolling yet, but I like the way a lot of the characters are presented, especially Eid. I'm just like, oh, this is magnificent. I am about all of this.
Yeah, who is your favorite character and why is it Eid? Like,
yeah, Eid is like everyone's favorite character. She's fantastic. I mean, I like Tane too, just because, like, the absolute, like, try hard, like, I don't know, it's very endearing. Like, you're like, oh no, you poor thing. But no, Eid is fantastic. I like how much, like, I don't know, eye rolling we get at everything. She's just like, ugh, these people. That's how I would be at a court, I think.
Well, I particularly, in just the little bit that I've read, already it's been established that Eid is like, yeah, my belief system is very different from their belief system, and their belief system is terrible because it makes this woman seem like a flinching posy, and like that was, no, she was a total badass, and people need to respect the hell out of her.
I found that part of the, like, world built, like, the way that the two religions were, like, related to each other, but not the same at all. Totally different stories. I really liked that. And I really liked, like, all of the world building aspects, like every single place. And then I, had to pick them apart and be like, what is this based on? Well, this is very, like, I was talking to Lauren about this, like, oh, this is like Dutch or Venetian, like that's the Mintenden or whatever. And then, like, Seiki is like very Japanese vibes, like isolationists and dragons and so I tried to do a 1-to-1 assignment for all of the countries. Some of them worked, some of them didn't, but that's what I was trying to do.
Yeah, and I was also trying to do, because we had a discussion on what, like, the Mentish were supposed to, like, what culture we thought that was, and I thought that was very interesting.
It seems to me like Samantha Shannon very specifically targeted the concept of, I'm going to do something that is reminiscent of this culture, but also borrows aspects from, like, these other 3 cultures, so that it's not like, oh yeah, it's they're just this nationality in our world, which I think is done just very. I love it. I'm about it.
It walked all of the best, like, little fantasy elements that would, like, complement or just add a little bit of, like, zhuzh to each. I have recommended this book to like 18 billion people now, even though I haven't finished it. And I'm just like, it's like every bit of, like, vaguely historically based, like, inspiration stuff, plus every single fantasy trope you can think of, thrown into a blender of feminism that somehow really works.
Yeah.
Yes, there are dragons, but you love them, and they're not like, oh, of course, dragons. It's like, yes, it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah. I think something like it winds up both being like very much a fantasy world while also the cultures feeling like really, really grounded and almost like historical fiction-y. Like it, I don't know, like you have a firm grasp on how like each culture developed and how they interact and what their political systems are like without it being boring either. It's just I think there was like a lot of like careful work there. And it worked in a way that I've seen some people try and do the same thing and it like not super work. Either the fantasy world like doesn't feel realistic or it feels very realistic. It's just like, wow, I've gotten a lot of details on the trading politics of this nation.
Like heavy-handed or something. This is like delicately done. So nice. Mm-hmm.
It is one of my favorite things in literature, which is exposition via dialogue done like cleanly. It actually sounds conversational as opposed to being like, well, clearly you don't understand about the trade regulations here. 100 years ago. Like, no, it's very much like, oh, sure, kid, you're going to break something that's been the case for the last 3 centuries. Yeah, that'll be a riot, I'm sure. Like, I love it.
Like, it's, I think one good example is like when, oh gosh, what's his name? Ead's like friend and mentor, the guy who explained the Priory of the Orange Trees like view on the religion.
The guy, the
different stories of
the ambassador guy.
That when guy. The ambassador is explaining to Loth how his religion is like the false narrative, and it's instead of just getting this like big like explanation of the different lores of the region, you have like one character talking to another, like telling a story, but then you also have like Loth like interjecting, being like, that's not right. How can you say that? Like, this is how it happened. And so you get like this, both stories at once, and also how the two cultures feel about each other, while also getting that information is like very like layered.
It was very Isaac and Ishmael. It was very that. I was like, yep. Like who's the actual hero, good guy of the religion, good guy.
I also appreciated them doing a little subtle nod to some queer characters in Roos, talking about like really missing being in like his homelands and, you know, doing alchemical stuff, and his sweet sugary boy toy, and like they drop that line in just so like subtly, just like talking about, you know, missing holding hands with him as they walked around the gardens, and I'm like, oh, I hadn't even considered. Hello, Roos, I see you in a new light now.
Well, just wait until you get your heart stomped out, Josh.
No.
Oh my God. Yes. Roos is, I think, like one of the most interesting. He's not my favorite because, but he's so interesting because like he has this like he's like a coward and he keeps making the wrong decision, and I'm just like want to shake him and be like, you're so selfish. But like you understand why he does it, and like he has this like backstory that's like really sad, and so you feel for him, but at the same time he's just being like not a good guy. I don't know. I thought it was really interesting, well done character.
I feel very similarly of like, wow, you're such an interesting character, but every time I get to a part with Nicholas, I'm just like, why are you doing this?
Don't you hurt that dragon?
Why?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. Shenanigans.
I have seen a lot of commentary in book club chat, like not in our current chat, but in the Discord, where people were talking about like, oh, Roos, uh,
yeah,
right now, like where we've left off, like because I read exactly up to the point where we were supposed to stop because I followed the assignment. It hurt me so bad. But yeah, what's happening right now, I'm very angry and I'm going to be more mad maybe after I read what happens next. I don't know. Maybe I'll be less mad, but I don't know. Our little Roos friend is on thin ice with me at the moment. So.
Yeah. Ugh, that character. I think I liked the inclusion of alchemy and like the elixir of life bit. I don't know. I thought it was interesting and made sense for like kind of a medieval fantasy setting.
I'm very interested to see where that all goes. What with the information that is like discovered during sort of the last couple of chapters from Kalbaya and like on the pirate ship. All of that information. I took notes.
The pirate ship. Oh, they're so evil, but like so cool. Like the whole idea of like a pirate ship that can like hold a dragon captive and like it. So the pirate queen definitely, or empress, definitely reminded me of. I looked up her name, but Qing Shi, the like Chinese pirate, leader of like, you know, whatever, thousands of people, 80,000 outlaws, it said, according to Wikipedia. But that's another one where it was like this like fun, like historical kind of tie-in inspiration, but like not explicitly. But I do love some pirates. So.
Oh hell yeah. We have a couple of questions in chat. First of all, Tree was saying, solidarity, Cheryn. I was afraid I would commit spoilers if I read past section 3.
Yeah.
And that's fair. That's fair. I totally understand that.
Cheshire, better of me.
Cheshire Cat says, it reminded me of Tamara Pierce's use of real peoples / civilizations / races for the geography, but in a fantasy retelling kind of way that doesn't feel forced or lazy. Which Tree was saying about that Samantha Shannon says in the foreword that it is inspired by lands and events from all over the world, but not intended as a faithful representation of any. Which brings me to the first question we have in chat, which I'm like, I didn't consider this at all, which Tree asks, do you think she's exploring how the versions of the Old Testament differ in the 3 Abrahamic religions and how that affects personal interactions? And I was like, I didn't before, but I sure do now.
I think it's just a nice sprinkling of all of that, just different elements of all of those things. And yeah, just delicately spun together.
I'm not sure. Maybe.
I know there are definitely some like elements that reminded me of like Christianity and Islam, but it was more of the vibe than the specifics. I thought it was particularly interesting that the two religions were like the same story, but from different sides, like with different heroes. And that like that's kind of like the root of the Abrahamic religion like split sort of. So I thought that was interesting, but I don't know if it's as like linear as that, I guess.
I think I would agree. I don't think there's like quite that analogy. I feel like it's trying to say more like feminist things than it is like a contrast of like Abrahamic religions.
Yeah, I don't think it's saying anything specific like religiousness wise, but like the it was like a similar type of juxtaposition or something. Yeah. I also thought it was very interesting that like there was like a conversation between Loth and the Yaskali king guy, where Loth was like, "Damn you to the womb of fire," which like is like a horrible curse for him, and Sigoso was like, "I'm already there and it's paradise," and it's just like, oh yeah, like you're both heresies to each other, and you're like, and he's like, yeah, it's great. And I just thought that it was very interesting to have it such a like, instead of it just being sort of a branch off, it is like an actual opposite.
Yeah, that whole like section in Yaskala was really, really interesting.
Yeah, I kept trying to like find the parallel there. Like at first I was like, is this Russia? And then I was like, maybe it's Spain. And I was like, maybe it's Spain and Russia combined. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think we got enough of like the non-draconic vibe of the city to kind of like determine, but I mean the draconic like rule there was pretty cool. It was very like with like the plague and like the carriages like pulled by these like draconic creatures and like the screams in the night, and they like fed people to them. Like it was just like really cool and metal. I don't know.
Very that the city being in a volcano, like with like lava hanging out, just running through the streets, you know. Like I said, it was like it felt like every single over the top fantasy trope that you could think of. It's like, this city's gonna be made of lava in a volcano with dragons. I'm like, yes, it is. I love it so much. Yeah.
I mean that does sound very traditional supervillain lair, I will say. Like I've been to Bowser's Castle before.
The plague reminded me a lot of the one from Game of Thrones. I thought that was that's like what kept appearing in my mind when I read it. But that makes sense.
I don't think that actually like occurred to me at all, but now you saying that, I'm like, oh yeah, duh.
What's the plague from Game of Thrones called?
Grayscale?
Yeah.
Something, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's Grayscale.
Is that right?
I think so.
I don't know. Maybe. But yeah, what is it in this one? It's the red plague. What is it called in this one?
It's something to do with like dragon's blood or something like that. Like it's got dragon somewhere in the name.
It's also dragony. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody wearing like masks and gloves, and I was like, a plague.
Almost
very
too
scary.
real.
Hey.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about Sabrin and the entire royal line of Berethnet or whatever?
I think they walked a very good line of like writing, I think, a realistic monarch who would not be a very nice person. Like I feel very, I haven't met any, but I feel pretty confident that most absolute monarchs would probably not be super nice people. So I feel like she was written like realistically, but really empathetically as well, because she is like so self-centered and like full of herself and like all of the like obnoxious and like all of these and like kind of like petty. But especially like when she starts talking about like her fears of the future and of like how, you know, her like relationship with like getting married and like even like I've been rereading, so I just kind of got to the place like I don't know, like earlier today where she talks about her daughter replacing her and she's going to be obsolete and like her role is done and like her only role was to have a child. And I was just like, yeah, like I can really understand like a lot of where she's coming from, despite the fact that she's like super wealthy and has like every whim catered to. I don't know. I thought I liked her.
17 different dishes prepared.
Yeah.
Even though she's only ever going to eat the one.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe it's that, you know, I start to like her as Eid starts to like her. I think that's kind of what happens.
Yeah, I like her very much as a character, but also kind of like want to smack her in the face and be like, why you do this? Stop. But I really like her as a character, and I like her as like a monarch too, like as a character that is a monarch. I feel like it's a pretty, as you said, I don't know any monarchs personally, but I feel like it's a very believable way for, you know, a monarch to be an actual human being stuck dealing with all of that and trying to have some semblance of a life, but not really knowing what normal is at all, and like trying to combat your inner human pettiness with, you know, your role in the world. Too much.
Yeah. For sure.
I think it's also a little bit kind of reflective of turning a traditional monarchy on its head. Because in a traditional monarchy, it's the king that's really important, and really all you're trying to do is get that king to have a son, because then that son's going to be the most important. And then people are like, oh, well, how do we overthrow the son before they come of age? Like all of those sorts of nonsense. And so it being all about like it being a queen-based monarchy, so that it's woman to woman to woman, I think also adds some depth and richness to it, because we're not relying quite so heavily on like England. Although Queen Elizabeth has been a queen-based monarchy for quite a little while there.
Yeah. I enjoyed the deviation from like the standard, like there's a king, blah, blah. And I think it also changes like really like the fact that it's a queendom changes how the politics work and like how the monarchy like functions, because I mean it's still about like forming alliances and, you know, stuff like that, but when the person in charge is the one like responsible for bearing the children, I think there is like a subtle difference in maybe the pressure and like the vulnerability. Like they talk about, because like, I mean, having a child is like really dangerous. And I think they like talk about that like vulnerability and like the body being the kingdom, and there's some interesting stuff there.
Before I forget, also like that particular kingdom being like the seat of virtuedom at like Christendom.
Yeah,
and, like, having the whole like thing based in the ideals of knighthood. I find that very delightful on several levels.
I particularly enjoy how it's like all of these descendant chains of these like heroes of legend. It's almost like coming along after the D&D campaign has wrapped up like hundreds of years previous and being like, now what is it like when this like earth-shattering thing has occurred and whole societies are built based on like, oh, well, these are the heroes of legend and we need to follow in their footsteps as closely as possible. And also the big bad guy might come back if these wards are broken. So explore. Like it almost feels like somebody wrapped up their D&D campaign and then was like, all right, well, I got a lot of mythos I still want to explore, but I don't think it really works for another campaign, so I'm going to write a really dope book.
It's Legend of Korra.
Kind of.
Okay,
Yeah.
One of my favorite DMs, he does that. All of the campaigns he runs take place in the same world, just at different timelines. And so I've been in several of his campaigns, and he'll just be like, yeah, that was 100 years ago. Now we're here. But like every once in a while, you'll get a little Easter egg about like a thing your character did, or like that time that city was destroyed or whatever.
I love that shtick. I love that. That's great.
Yeah. Some characters in a campaign before I like became friends with him, I got the chance to name this city. They like founded this big city of the new kingdom, and they named it Detroit because the players got to choose. And so forever that city is named Detroit in this fantasy kingdom.
That's beautiful.
And this nice little, it makes me smile. He was like, oh, great.
It's so good. It makes me so happy when things like that come together. But that's very much the feeling that I get off of this book, which I think is part of why I like it so much, even before we're really getting into like the meat of the content, is it just has that very like high fantasy exploration, but done from a perspective of someone who's already spent a lot of time like sitting with their friends and kind of exploring this world and what it means to be living in it. Like it's such I like it so much. It makes me even more sad that like I've had no time for reading.
Yeah.
But you know,
just like shut yourself in for the next like week and a half, catch up, eat chocolate, read book.
I dig the scale of the world. Like it's more than just like a little map of like a not England and like the adventures that take place in not England. There's like I think that's part of like what makes it feel full. I really like the stuff that takes place in like Psyche in the East. It's so fun. Dragons. I won't say anything about anything, but I did see Shang-Chi, the Marvel movie, and there were some scenes in it that made me think of this book. I won't say anything else except that Shang-Chi is really, really good. I think it's the best Marvel movie to come out in years.
Ooh.
And you should definitely watch it. And there are some scenes in it that reminded me of some scenes in this book.
What is the method for watching that? Is that on like
the movie theater?
I believe it is currently the theater. It'll be available on Disney Plus at some point.
Yeah, probably in like a handful of months.
Well,
if that long.
Is what I say to that.
I really, really enjoy some of the transitions where like it's night and they're trying to hide this guy because he just showed up on the shore, and this woman's got this really important thing she's doing tomorrow, and you don't fully understand what it means. You just know that it's important. And she's like, this I can't have this ruin my special day, damn it. And so she like stuffs him into that part of the island where the Mentish are allowed to trade, and is like, you have to hide here now. And then as Dr. Roos is like, all right, well, I'm going to go get a little bit of fresh air. Holy mother of God, those are dragons. Like, just the way they like tie everything together scene to scene, like, I don't know if I should be thanking Samantha or if I should be thanking Samantha's editor, but either way, just top-notch work. Just top-notch. And I noticed it does not do the, we're changing perspectives, so we have to change chapters thing that a lot of books do. It's there, you'll get that little page break and it'll be like, new person, what's up?
I think ever since our Terry Pratchett book, I've kept an eye on the chapters and what their function is and what they're doing. Is it perspective changes? Is it location changes? Theme, like, and I did notice that we get perspective changes within chapters.
I feel like we've maybe been doing that a little bit since Six of Crows, honestly. Like, I know, like, I remember having a pretty, like, intense conversation about who everybody's favorite point of view was. And since then, I've been, like, way more aware of the books that we've been reading that have had, like, changes in perspective as we've gone, and, like, thought about it a lot more than I probably had previously.
Yeah, I was so mad that I didn't realize that we didn't get a Wyland chapter when we read that book. Just thinking that was really obvious. I didn't. Still like holding on to that thing. Yeah.
It is interesting that Sabran herself is not a point of view.
Yeah.
That is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
We might know too many things if that were the case. We'd have too many ins.
I think it would make Ed, like, I think it would be a little irrelevant. I don't know, because we get Ed's perspective on like what's going on in the court. If we got Sabran's, like, what more would it give us that's not like duplicative, you know?
Nice
Because like a lot of the tension is like wondering what Sabran's gonna do, how does she feel, like what's the next action. If we get that, then it, you know, it kind of like, okay, I guess we know how she feels and what she's gonna do, and you know, and then it just wouldn't. I think think it feels surprising because we don't get the most important people in the world's perspectives, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But
I think you're right. Mm-hmm.
I think there's also something to be said for it is a lot easier to figure out how two characters might like weave around each other and understand each other and grow closer when you get to see both characters' perspectives. Like when we're talking about like Six of Crows, for instance, when you're trying to figure out Kaz Brecker and I'm so terrible with names. What is the assassin?
Inej.
Inej, that's it. Thank you so much. When you've got the perspectives of Kaz and Inej, you can be like, why are you not just talking to each other? Jesus.
Yeah.
But if you only had one or the other, you would still have that like level of doubt where it's like, ooh, but what if they don't feel the same? Oh, like
Yeah.
they probably do. Like I'm seeing enough signs to feel like they probably do, but I don't know.
Yeah, one perspective does add to that will they, won't they thing where you're just like, you're killing me.
Yeah, maybe it's like where some of the tension is coming from, you know? Is it from like maybe is it from like a what actions will they take? Because then getting both perspectives like would maybe take away some of that tension, or like how do they feel? Wait, yeah, I think it's depends on like where the tension is coming from.
Well, there's also the question of how much does Sabrin actually know about Eid? Because Eid is keeping a lot of secrets, and it seems like Sabrin at least suspects some of those, but that's just what Sabrin's letting on. Like it's a little bit 3D chess when you've only got the one perspective, and you're like, okay, so Sabrin at the very least is aware of this stuff and is alert to it, but additionally is willing to bring Eid into the inner fold and like
like what is her motivation for bringing Eid into like her ladies of the bedchamber? Is it because she just like, wow, this person is really interesting. I don't know quite why I find this person so interesting. Or
right?
which is like kind of what it seems like to me. But certainly after she like winds up like in the attack. Sorry, Josh, you haven't read too. She winds up like
no, please go ahead.
Killing a bunch. Like Eid winds up doing some cool like assassin, you know, whatever spy shit, and winds up like protecting Sabran. And after that,
it looks like the cover. It's the cover.
Yeah, Sabran just accepts that. Everyone seems to accept that. Oh yeah, Eid just taught herself that because she wanted to be a good lady of the bedchamber and protect Sabran. And I'm like, what? That doesn't make sense. How is anybody believing that? But
given that at the point I'm at in the book, they literally just interrogated Eid because they were like, we got to find this person who keeps killing people outside of the queen's bedchamber and leaving their corpses on her doorstep like a cat leaves mice. Like we need to figure this person out and deal with them. That to hear that there is that level of 180, I'm like, interesting.
Yeah. To me, I don't know. I think Sabran's just kind of like naive. I think she's like everybody's kind of, I don't want to say like coddled her, but I think she has like a very limited perspective of the world. And so I don't know. I think she's kind of naive. I don't think that that's a thing that has occurred to her. I mean, certainly that like people are motivated by like wanting like wealth or favors. Like she's definitely suspicious of people's motivations, but to like the level of like, well, maybe not, because her mother was murdered in a plot by somebody close to her. So maybe she's not as naive as I think. She just seems like really like frustratingly naive, you know?
Well, I found that assassination plot, that the details of that assassination situation just were very bothersome to me as a person who likes fancy costumes. It was just upsetting. They gave her a pretty dress, damn it.
I know. I was like, never would I have thought that you could poison somebody's clothing.
I'd heard of it before in like different.
I'm wondering if there's like a certain inspirational like history event or like legend or something, because it seems so specific, you know?
Well, I know that there were definitely, you know, like dyes that, you know, would slowly kill you if you wore like a dress out of that like almost like sort of like a lime, nearly neonish kind of green color or something. It wasn't neon. I'm not gonna think of the name, but it was like this very bright green, and it was like deadly. And I feel like there's definitely some.
I think like arsenic can be absorbed through the skin, but
yeah.
I think, isn't mercury also, or does that have to be through a cut?
No, I think you can absorb mercury through your skin, because they had to tell people to stop playing with mercury from thermometers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. The concept of, because obviously they're exploring, I didn't get the full details of the dress poisoning, but I did know that they are like checking the bed sheets and checking any of the dresses she's going to wear and checking all the food she eats. And I'm like, I wonder how her mother might have died. Like, might it have been poison? Yeah, like, I think there was a period of time in, I want to say, England, where people were just like poisoning people left and right.
Yeah, in the chat, it is Medea in like Greek. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I was like, this is a reference. I don't get it, but I know there is.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Thank you.
She's jealous of let's see.
I'm ashamed that I did not
go marry someone else. And she was like, well, I'm gonna send her a poison dress.
Yeah. Reference. Mm-hmm. Yep.
This is something that I am so much loving about this book, is all of the, like, there's a lot of cultural references. There's some like historic allusions. There's like, Samantha is clearly someone who very much appreciates world history and not just like one specific culture's history and the mythology that those cultures also have, because there's just a lot woven in there, and I am about it so much. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel smarter for reading it, you know? Like,
that's always nice. But yes, Lauren, also just Googling while we're here, arsenic is what dyes fabric that bright green color.
There we go. Yeah,
we're just connecting dots all over the place today. It's great.
I knew arsenic could be absorbed through the skin because they used to use it to preserve like museum stuff. And I worked in museums for a little while. And there was a big deal in like really old collections, like in the Chicago Field Museum and like some of the old natural history museums. You always had to wear gloves when you handled any of like, you know, the like taxidermied specimens and anything like that, because if it was from like the 1800s when they were killing all of the animals, you know, to fill up museums, they might have put arsenic in it. So you didn't get arsenic poisoning. That's on the job learning.
That is fascinating and terrifying at the same time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oof.
Oh
Stop
my
the
gosh.
rats from eating your fancy birds that you murdered.
What? Hold on. Tree says they used to put poison on the banned books in the monastery libraries to keep people from reading.
Whoa, I didn't know that. That's so fantastic. I mean, obviously terrible, but
that before. That's crazy. Whoa.
I just like all of the applications. Well, now we know how Sabrin's going to die. She receives a poison book, and
Oh.
oh my gosh, oh.
I'm gonna be thinking
Like,
about poisons for a while.
Yeah, I feel like that enough conversation around poison has happened in this book that if we don't see someone poisoned by the end of it in some way, that'll be kind of like a very strange, like, little backstep there or something.
Yeah.
Like, we're ready for it now. We've got Sabrin's got like a food tester. Her mom was killed by a poison dress. Like, there's a plague happening. Like, there's
who would use poison? Our old pal Nicolays.
Yeah, he would.
Right?
That's so true. That's very true.
He's got the alchemy experience. He's kind of like a little got that coward thing going on. Yeah.
Yeah. That would be on brand.
Yeah, on brand.
Mm-hmm.
On brand, indeed.
He's known actively as trying to work on an elixir of life situation, so I could very much see later in the book, he's like, I've done it, and they're like, gimme, and then he's like, surprise.
Yep, the cupbearer. Yep. Mm-hmm.
We haven't talked that much about Tane and Naimathan. Tane and her dragon. What did you think of like that whole storyline and how it wove into the others and like Tane as a person?
I really love the way that dragons like exist in the world and like the different types of dragons and the way that the societies view them. And like the fact that they're like gods in Seiki was just very very interesting, and every time we got to see Tane with Naimathan,
yeah,
I was just like, oh, this is so nice. It just like because she was always so like, oh, I have this thing to admit, or I'm a sad little human, and then the dragon's like, no, you're just a normal human. It's fine.
Oh, yes.
And I'm like, oh.
Every time the dragon spoke, I was like, you're so precious and sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited for all of this because when you asked that question, I was like, their meeting was really great. That's all I got. The first 100 pages has so little dragon action.
Hang in there, you'll get to the dragons.
There is a nice large blue dragon on the front cover just to let me know there's gonna be dragons in here. And then they introduced them within the first 100 pages. So I was like, hell yeah, this isn't one of those climax scenes only.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. And they're different kinds of dragons. Yay.
Yeah. I would definitely read a whole book about Tane. It felt like the classic fantasy story, right? Like, well, we only got bits and pieces.
They all do. They all feel like the classic.
She was like an orphan who was like there was a sign that she might have been chosen, and then she goes to the fancy like dragon rider academy, and she has to struggle, and like the people from like noble birth are like, we hate you because you're a commoner, and she has to try like twice as hard, but then she winds up being the best, and then this other thing happens, and like there was a lot of, I appreciated the little tidbits of like classic fantasy, but without it like dominating everything. Yeah. Or that genre of fantasy.
Yeah, I feel like there could be an entire book written about the backstory of every character that we've encountered so far. It is like it's like this is the ensemble movie for all of the like little
Avengers.
Yeah, this is the assemblage. And I want to watch all the spin-offs and the origin stories, please.
And almost, when did this come out?
May 2017 or 2018?
It almost makes me wonder.
I lent out my copy, so I don't have the physical one.
Oh no.
2019?
First published 2019 in Great Britain. So what this makes me wonder is, what is Samantha Shannon working on next?
Also, like, should I go read everything else she wrote before this?
Also a good question.
She wrote some other stuff.
Yeah, she wrote like the Bone season. Is like the first in her other series, which I actually bought it because I liked this book when I read it whatever last year, and so I saw at a used bookstore the first in her other series, and I bought it, but I haven't read it yet.
You'll have to let us know how that is, potentially for a book club.
Yeah,
because this is, I feel like we've spent the last hour just gushing about how much we've enjoyed this book. I'm genuinely curious if anyone in chat has things that they want to say about the book that they were like, this didn't jive with me so well. Or if you too have had anything yet where you were like, I don't know that I would have done this. Because we have been so excitedly gushing about everything we love about the book. I'm like, is there anything that any of us is upset about? Like, is there anything that we're like, oh, I don't know about that. That isn't like a character decision. Looking at you, Nicholas Roos.
I feel like I'll have to make that call after I finish the book.
That's fair.
I will say that I think it starts slow. I'm not mad because I think it gets there eventually, and like it will, like it certainly hooked me. And if you read a lot of like high fantasy, like, you can hang in for the first 100 pages. But I think some people have been put off, like some of my friends, because they're just like, oh, I don't know. It's like kind of slow. We're doing a lot of world building. But
yeah, that's I got this book for both my brother and my sister, who I know will both really like this book, but their dumb sister got it for them, and just looking at the first few pages, like, so neither one of them have started it, and I'm just like, read it, you'll like it so much, both of you will like it so much. But the more I beg, the more they're put off by it, so
siblings.
I'm shooting myself in the foot.
Yeah, I've been trying to get my girlfriend to read it, but unsuccessful so far. They own a copy. Step one.
Y'all should just gently slide them a YouTube link. Be like, here's a little tantalizing taste.
Yeah.
Of what we think about this book.
So good. It's so good.
Oh my god. Tree is saying that it was really amazing as an audiobook because the reader does accents. And she got it on Audible for 1 credit, which is wild to me, given that it's an 800-page book.
You really get the bang for your buck on Audible for this one. I read it originally like a year ago, but or maybe more than that. But to like refresh my mind, I listened to it, so it's like a little bit different, a little bit of a new experience, and I've really been enjoying it. I'm not a big audiobook fan, but it's kept me engaged. It is like 28 hours long, something like that. I have 12 hours and 45 minutes left. So, but I listen on regular speed. Some people listen faster. My little brain can't handle any faster than regular speed.
I only ever speed things up when whoever's doing the talking talks kind of on the slow side. Mm-hmm. Like I will be like, I had to, for work, we were doing a book club kind of thing where I was expected to read a book and then give a presentation on it. And I was given Richard Koch's 80-20 principle. And he spends the entire book talking at about this speed. And I was like, 1.5 right now. You know what? Let's kick that up to 1.75 because you are killing me, sir. I have to get through this.
Yeah, I listened to a little bit of the Obama memoir audiobook. First off, the book is the same size as Priory of the Orange Tree. It is like enormous. It's like 25 hours.
Wow.
And it's narrated by Obama. And he's a fantastic narrator, but not the fastest.
800 pages of Obama.
It was only part 1 too. There's another part.
Oh, he must be exploring some stuff in depth in there then.
It's like blow by blow.
Okay. Oh, that makes sense. And I imagine people are excited.
Oh gosh. It's the one where he talks about going to college and the it was like the hot bisexuals down the hall or whatever. You remember when that was like a meme? No.
I vaguely recall that being the meme. I was just I'm sorry, I was distracted by Happy. Just
so cute.
But you were saying about the Obama book.
Oh, just that I had to speed that one up.
Yeah. That's
slow.
I think that's totally fair. Like that's if the narrator's going to take their sweet Texas time to get any information out. I know we're on a little bit of a tangent, but there is one last thing I want to say on this before we move back into like the book, which is I was reading a tweet from a content creator that I really enjoyed. They have a podcast network, and he's like, look, people who speed up the podcast, I created an hour of content for you this week. That does not mean that you should get 45 minutes of content. Like, let the people live their dreams. Some of us don't have time for an hour of content every week.
Yeah. You know, some people can just train their brains to like handle it.
Yeah.
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 Not
exactly.
me, but some people.
I prefer to listen to things at their normal speed as often as possible, but for that book presentation, I was just like, I don't even want to be reading this.
Yeah. Sometimes it's not about the art. You know, you just want to get that information.
A lot of times I really struggle without subtitles. And I saw a very good TikTok or reel or something the other day about subtitles and someone being like, oh, we don't need subtitles and turning them off. And then it was just everyone was like, Agabada, and it was like, yeah, I like, what? What? I I can't understand. I can't even imagine trying to like take in an audiobook at extra speed. I would die.
I went to the movies for my first pandemic. Well, not my first pandemic movie trip, because the first one was the Demon Slayer movie. Fantastic. So good. But I watched it in Japanese, so it had subtitles. But the next movie I saw after that, I was like, I've been watching for a year and a half. The only TV I've been watching, everything's been subtitled, right? And then I go to the movies and I have to watch something without subtitles. It was so hard. I was like, I missed all of that whole sentence. I missed it. Like, I didn't realize how much my brain had gotten used to it. But
I haven't noticed that, but the only movie that I've gone to see in the theater since quarantine times was A Quiet Place, which did not have much in the way of dialogue.
I'm just picturing Lauren sitting down in the movie and just watching like the bottom eighth of the screen and being like, I'm not getting any of this.
Yeah.
It took me like 15 minutes to adjust, I think. Maybe that's an exaggeration, but it was an adjustment.
Even if it only felt like 15 minutes, I understand.
Yeah. It's interesting how fast you can adapt.
I feel like there's got to be more about the book that we haven't touched on yet, and I'm trying to think Tree asked earlier, I think it was Tree, who wants to go live on Feather Island?
I would live on Feather Island if I could also take trips off of Feather Island. I feel like otherwise you'll get a little Nicholas Rusi and be like, I'm stuck and I hate it and I want to go see something else and I can't.
Yeah, I thought Feather Island was really interesting, but I don't know.
I got to be able to travel. I like the idea of a book of an island of study, but I would like to also go to all of the other places. Like, it was very nice, the little chunk of time where Nicholas was able to break his own like quarantine situation and go into like some of the big main city. I forget the name. And like, experience some of that stuff with like friends and go sightseeing and see places that he'd only read about. And I was like, oh, that's so nice for him. I hope he doesn't have to go back and be, shut in again and isolated on his little islands. Yeah. Poor guy. Yeah.
I think I would definitely be feeling like how Nicholas did, like all like cooped up, being like, I see the same 10 people.
It's like quarantine.
Yeah.
Blech.
But the idea of my job being to like learn things and read things does sound very pleasing. Yeah. I would do that job. One of my coworkers who I'm friends with is like, I'm going to retire. And I think I'm going to go back to school to be a librarian and just be a librarian. And I was like, wow, that sounds fantastic. You should definitely do that.
One of my favorite people in the whole world growing up was a woman who had been a school teacher, retired, and became a librarian. And she was just an absolute firecracker of a woman, and I loved her to bits. I miss her so much.
I like the whole like concept of like the stewardship of knowledge. Is like interesting, especially because I think I kind of think of that as like in a like Western monastery context, the copying of manuscripts, the like maintaining of that like whatever knowledge, but that wasn't the like cultural perspective that Feather Island had, but it still had like some of those elements, which I thought was really interesting and fun. Yeah.
This has just got me thinking about Josh's dragon librarian.
Dragon librarian?
In one of the scenarios I wrote in a very, very large Terry Pratchett L-Space inspired library that has just oodles and oodles of completely illegible documents for the modern eye. And the adventuring party could wander into this library and they were allowed to like pick stuff up and examine it and potentially glean some like mystical knowledge and things like that out of it. But if they mishandled any of the books, there was this elven librarian that would just like come down on them like a sack of bricks. And the thing that I wouldn't tell any of the parties, but that I did tell all of the DMs, is that if the party gets a little too rowdy with the books, the librarian becomes a full-size ancient bronze dragon.
Whoa, that's fun.
And it's just like, you have defiled my library. Yeah, so she was a fun character to write, and apparently did have a couple of tables where she needed to bust out the draconic form and teach them a lesson about behaving inside libraries.
Yeah. How fun. D&D parties are always trying to steal books from libraries, at least the ones that I'm in.
Uh-huh. I think that's pretty typical behavior.
Yeah.
You don't realize quite what shoplifters your friends might be until you're playing a high fantasy game with them where they don't think any of the consequences are real. I really appreciated kind of the divide between there's the academic monks and then the warrior monks, which, as I understand it, is an actual thing in Japan. You've got both sets because martial artists weren't just martial artists. They were also very meditative for a very long time. And so that's why there's a lot of meditation in a lot of modern arts. So like having kind of that like selection divide, like we know you're going to train hard enough to be a really effective warrior. So you're going into the warrior program. And you who didn't train quite so hard will be a better fit for the academic life where you will not be on the front lines protecting this country.
Yeah. Yeah, that whole like tournament thing was fun. Like some people getting to join like the dragon rider, like sea general, side, and some people being sent to Feather Island to be scholars. I was nervous for Tane. I mean, I knew she was going to get a dragon, but I was still like, you felt how like anxious she was.
Mm-hmm.
What were you going to say, Cheryn?
Oh, just the fact that like they had to go through the first division of, are you going to go be part of the like sea general contingent, or are you going to be shipped off to Feather Island? And then once off with the martial folk, then still having to prove yourself further to be able to be a dragon rider. So it was like just so many steps, so much stress. But yeah, same, Lauren. I was like, you're definitely gonna get a dragon because I know that you are, but like, oh no. Oh, just do your best.
Yeah.
Ugh. Yes, that storyline is currently just causing me too much stress. It's too much stress. Mm.
What haven't we talked about? Oh, the actual like mythology itself. We've kind of touched on how the different groups perceive it, but what is y'all's take on like does the Priory of the Orange Tree, do they have it all fully correct, or do they have their own kind of rose-colored glasses on the situation that tints it in their own kind of light?
I think it's probably more the second one than the first one, but maybe just feels a little more wholesome than the other thing that is also not right. I feel like it's probably going to be something that's even older and like more all-encompassing than what we've currently got as the story or the backstory to the story. I mean, there's just too much going on with everything that we found out from Kalbaya, the witch, and from the pirates, and with the dragons, and with some trees. There's too many things. There's got to be a bigger picture going on somewhere.
Yeah, something that like predates the original sealing of the Nameless One, or the original like defeat of the Nameless One.
Oh, it's fruit trees and serpents. What's our creation story? That's right? What we got here.
Various fruit trees and various serpents.
That was the working title for this book. Various fruit trees, various serpents.
I had not considered that at all until you said it, but that's another one of those where it's like, of course, it's such an easy line to draw. How did I not see this?
I didn't draw it until I just said it right at this moment, so it's fine. Going along the like creation story thread. Wouldn't have thought it if you hadn't asked that question. So,
That's why book clubs are great, y'all.
Yay, book clubs.
This is so true. It's so true.
Reading books and talking about books with book club makes me feel smarter. Yay.
Yeah. That verbal processing. Let's throw some ideas together. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think to answer your original question, Josh, I think I agree with Cheryn that there's like an older, like more unifying thing going on. I mean, I think the Priory is like, they've got like more of the truth. But as an institution, they're like also fallible. So
yeah, I know.
They just seem cooler.
They are cooler.
Yeah,
they are cooler. Let's be real.
Yeah.
My understanding of everything is more limited. I haven't gotten to the part with the witch in the woods yet. I'm very excited to get there. But I definitely got kind of that vibe where it's like, okay, well, you all believe this one thing, and then this other group is like, no. Y'all are stupid. This is how it really went down. Mm-hmm. And I was like, inevitably in situations such as these, there are elements of truth to both sides, but neither of them is fully accurate because they have their own biases that have been turning that story over for the last 300 years. It's when I learned this brain fact, it changed how I look at the entire world. Every time you remember something, you're not remembering the original something, you're remembering the last time you remembered that something.
Oh.
And so if an element changes in your remembering, it's going to stay changed forever, and things will degrade a little bit. Like somebody compared it to running a document through a scanner and then running the copy through the scanner and then running the copy through the They're like, you lose stuff over time. That's just how it goes. And I was like,
That's a fantastic analogy.
And it makes my brain so sad. And we're all going to die. And the end.
Yeah. This is also not really related, but I got into a fun spirited debate on the existence of ghosts last night. And a friendly spirited debate.
Friendly ghosts.
One of my arguments for no ghosts existing, for the explanation of how ghosts exist, is like human memory and like brains are just like so unreliable. Like the way we remember things and the way like it's like there's a statistic about like eyewitness accounts of car accidents, and like they get the colors of the cars wrong like crazy often, double digits. And it's just like your brain just like, especially when there's like any kind of dramatic event involved, so bad at remembering stuff.
I mean, this is why they recommend if you see something that you are going to need to like give a statement on later, write it down. Like write it down immediately, like somewhere, because you cannot trust your brain to retain that information for any period of time. Tree is asking that we not do Kafka. I will say very quickly, I noticed that you said spirited debate. I was drinking water at the time, but I did catch that beautiful pun, and thank you for putting it there.
Spirited debate.
I don't know about y'all, but I'm feeling pretty good about the conversation we've had so far. I'm excited to get into the rest of the book. I'm going to play a dangerous game with myself and try to read the remaining 700 pages instead of skipping to the 400 mark and going from there. And I call that
it'll be worth it. You'll be so happy you did.
I think that what I'm going to have to do in order to make that even remotely realistic is I'm going to have to say, okay, tonight is not a TV night. Tonight is a book night.
It'll be a nice night. That'll be a nice night.
Yeah.
I'm almost there, like, for, like, the fact that I can pick this up and read it again now. Like, I'm almost like, I don't need to watch anything tonight. Like, I could just, like, start reading, you know, now. Like, I'm in the zone because we've been talking about it. I got to see what's going on.
Tree says, don't you dare skip a page. I will find you and take you in a chair and read it to you.
Oh my goodness, that's hilarious. Yes.
Tree's got a very particular set of skills. What were you going to say, Lauren?
Once you get in the groove, you won't be like, oh, I can't, I better prioritize this and not watch TV tonight. You'll be like, oh, I gotta know what happens next.
That was
TV. Buh.
Yeah.
That was 100% true of both Gideon the Ninth and Crooked Kingdom, as well as, Gideon the Ninth and Six of Crows, as well as Harrow the Ninth and Crooked Kingdom. So I fully believe you when you say that.
This one isn't quite as like action packed as those, but it does have like a pretty good pacing. There's always like, you're always like, oh, what's going to happen to the dragon?
You don't want to leave the world.
Yeah. But yeah, is there anything, do we need to come up with like book suggestions to pitch, or are we going to leave that for later since we have, this next chunk of book?
I think we should just enjoy this next chunk of book. I definitely would encourage, since this was a host selection, as I recall, it was just the three of us that got to pick books this previous time. I would definitely encourage everybody to give some thought to books they might suggest. And as we said about brains being unreliable, put them in a note somewhere for yourself for next book club. And come ready to lay down some heat for us so we can put out a poll that's just really going to blow people's minds. But yeah, I think we should just relax and enjoy this two book or 2-part book club. Tree would like to highlight, and I think this is totally valid. Some of the folks in the book club chat are reading Dune before the movie comes out.
Oh, fantastic.
And they have a thread for just that. I believe, I will double check, but I believe the thread is Dune before the movie or bust.
Oh my gosh. I've seen so many TikToks of people reading Dune, and they are just like, it's so funny seeing people be like totally confused or like frustrated trying to read Dune before the movie, because especially if they have like never read it before or whatever, because it's dense. There's like a lot of like weird stuff going on. It's confusing, and people are just like, seeing people's reactions to that has been really fun.
It is very much a sci-fi product of its time. Like,
I have a complicated relationship with Dune.
I think that's fair.
I'm on the Dune hate brigade, so.
Oh no.
I know.
I said at a
I'm so excited for the movie, though. I'm excited for it because it's a really interesting like world and concept, and I'm definitely going to watch it.
Well, and there are some beautiful men that are going to be on scrin that I'm personally excited to be looking at.
Oh my god!
Oh yeah. yes. I was thinking about Timothée Chalamet and Jason Momoa in particular.
Isn't Oscar Isaacs in it too?
Oh my god, you're right. Oscar Isaacs is in it. Oh, so many beautiful boys. Yeah. Okay. I'm about it. I'm
really interested to see Timothée Chalamet be Paul. So, it'll be very, very, very interesting.
I think it'll be interesting. My fiance took 4 years to read it. Pick it up, read a couple pages, be like, put it down. Pick it up, read a couple pages, put it down.
My partner and I did a like a romantic whatever. Like, I was like, you read like my favorite like kind of like influential book when I was a teen, and I'll read your influential book from when you were a teen. And his was Dune. So that's what inspired me to read it.
I don't think I have read Dune. I have picked up the book on 3 separate occasions and tried to get into it and been like, I don't have time for this. And then just like moved on. So I mad respect to anyone who did actually make it through, because I could not. I will say I watched the miniseries back in the day because they would air it on Sci-Fi on a semi-regular basis, and I was like, this is cool as hell. And that was always the reason why I would go and pick up the book again, and then I'd be like, I don't have time for this, and then I put it back down. Like, it's
my dad is a big Sci-Fi fan, and I remember him taking me to watch the movies when I was like a little too young. I saw Dune in the theaters. It must have been like maybe a re-showing or something, because I think it came out like ages ago, and I remember it scaring me. The sandworms, the people with the glowy eyes.
It is not a kid-friendly movie on a lot of levels. Like, you stab a guy and then you drink his blood water. Like, no. No.
Yeah. Dune influenced so much, like especially Star Wars. If you're a Star Wars fan, it'd be interesting to read Dune.
Yeah.
The Bene Gesserit being like very influential to the creation of the Jedi, the whole like desert planet, Sarlacc pit. Like, there's like a lot of really cool, interesting foundational sci-fi ideas that come out of Dune, even if I don't particularly like it. I respect it.
Well, that's kind of like, I respect Ivanhoe for bringing about like knights and dragons and like marching and things like that. Like all of these really cool, as high fantasy is just becoming a thing in literature. I got like 6 pages in and I was like, they are still describing this same group of people and I cannot with this. Yeah, I just couldn't. Let's do some plugs and call it a night. What do y'all think?
Sounds good.
Lauren, do you want to start us off?
Sure. My Instagram is at Feminist Reading List. If you want to follow me, I read and review sci-fi, fantasy, and romance. And I've written more reviews this month, I think, than I did like all of last month. So I'm trying to like get back into it, ramp it up, you know? So follow me if you want some fun, like especially like newly published recommendations, because that's kind of what I've been focusing on. That's what I got.
Well, and given that your reading list is precisely how we found such beautiful titles as Six of Crows, Gideon the Ninth, among others, yeah, strong recommendation to check out Lauren's Instagram.
If you follow Lauren, it will be good for your brain and bad for like your pocketbook, because you'll buy all the books, which is why I have all the books now. This is you, Lauren. You did this to me.
Actually, some of those are my books. So.
Some of them are your books. That one and that one.
Yeah.
Cheryn, what would you like to plug?
I can't think of anything, so I'll just share my cat. Here she is in all her glory. I don't know, like Goblins and Growlers just did some cons. That was cool. We're all very tired, but got some cool new books out. She left. Well, fine. Got a lot of cool projects that we were selling at cons, new book, and gonna be doing some more cool stuff for the holidays. So, vague, generic plug. Keep your eyes peeled. Over to you, Josh.
I would say if you're interested in projects that are up and coming, you might be interested in joining our Patreon, since anytime we do something like a book release, we always get copies of that book to our $25 and up patrons, at least for the OPD volumes, which I think we're going to have another one of those in a few months here. I am going to say specifically, if you're interested in Goblins and Growlers merch, such as our latest book, Pirates of the Adirondack, written by one of our own community members, that is currently available for sale either on our Big Cartel, which is Goblins. Wait, oh no, I always get this backwards. It's bigcartel.goblinsandgrowlers.com. No, it's goblinsandgrowlers.bigcartel.com. And honestly, just Google Big Cartel Goblins and Growlers. That way you can't get the URL wrong. The other thing is all of that's available if you are Richmond local at Alpha Comics and Games, conveniently located in Willow Lawn, Richmond, Virginia. And Alex is thrilled always to see G&G folks up in there. So stop by, give a hearty hello, and pick up some cool stuff from our library of merchandise that we are building.
Also, so many t-shirts. So many cool new t-shirts.
Oh my gosh.
Got all of them.
They do. They've got all of them right now, which is unusual for us. The other thing is, if you aren't already, check out our actual play podcast, Quid Pro Roll. I am a arcane trickster, recovering criminal rogue. And we're trying to bring dragons back to the world with the help of myself, a wood nymph dragon priestess, a paladin of Soon who is aromantic, a over-the-hill professional wrestler, monk, bard, barbarian tri-class combo, and a noble fleeing his homeland, who is just trying not to deal with nobility life, who is a druid, who is circle of spores. So it gets a little gross and it gets a little weird, but there's lots of laughs and we have a good time. You can find that on pretty much any podcatcher. So just do a search and it should come up very quickly for you. I think that's everything I've got. Thank you all so much, everyone, for joining us. Thank you especially to everyone who jumped in chat and was engaging in the conversation as we were running along. I always love like highlighting questions, especially. So always keep that in mind. We will happily put questions up on the screen and then answer them. So thank you again for joining us, and we will see you. Oh my gosh, that is the thing I forgot. I was like, I'm forgetting something. I'm trying to like remember what it is as I'm saying all this stuff. Next month's book club will be on October 5th. It is still a Tuesday. It will be the first Tuesday of the month, which is rare for us these days. But yeah, it'll be a good time, and we're looking forward to talking about the rest of Priory of the Orange Tree.
I just put it on my calendar.
Oh, perfect. All right. Thank you all again for joining us, and we'll see you next month. Bye.